business is coming back to the United States so that they don't have to pay tariffs. And I think also because of November 5th, the election.
In a stunning announcement that rippled across both automotive and political landscapes, newly elected President Donald Trump revealed a sweeping ban on K-trucks, the diminutive and utilitarian vehicles long cherished by enthusiasts and practical users alike. Known for their compact size, exceptional fuel efficiency, and unmatched maneuverability, K-trucks, originally developed in Japan and later imported in increasing numbers to the United States, had gained a loyal following, particularly among rural landowners, small business operators, and off-road hobbyists. The declaration, made just weeks into Trump's first term, took many by surprise, not least because K-trucks had been quietly flourishing in a niche that larger, traditional trucks could never occupy.
But this is very exciting to me. This is the automobile industry, and this will continue to spur growth.
Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. K-trucks, also known as K-class mini-trucks, are light-duty utility vehicles manufactured under strict regulations in Japan, primarily to serve the needs of densely populated urban areas. These regulations kept the vehicles small, usually under 660 cc in engine size, and lightweight, with limited top speeds. When these vehicles began appearing in the US, typically imported used, they became a solution for many underserved needs. Farmers appreciated their ability to navigate tight rows and backwoods paths. Campus groundskeepers used them to ferry tools and supplies across sprawling universities. Hobbyists embraced their quirky style and mechanical simplicity, forming online communities and enthusiast clubs. With a price tag often far lower than that of a new American pickup, K-trucks offered an irresistible blend of economy and function. The sudden decision to outlaw these vehicles stemmed from a multi-pronged argument emerging from Trump's administration, couched in nationalistic rhetoric and framed around safety, economic protectionism, and regulatory consistency. The announcement was delivered during a press conference held at the White House Rose Garden, where the president cited concerns over the truck's compatibility with U.S. safety and emissions standards. He argued that K-trucks were infiltrating the market without adhering to the rigorous oversight applied to domestic manufacturers, creating what he described as an unfair playing field for American automotive companies. Federal agencies, including the Department of Transportation, DOT, and the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, quickly lined up in support of the decision. Reports were released outlining the supposed dangers posed by these vehicles, with a focus on crashworthiness and the lack of airbags or reinforced frames found in U.S.-made trucks. Emissions data was scrutinized, though K-trucks were largely used off-road or in rural settings where such regulations were more lenient. Despite this, the administration painted a picture of an under-regulated invasion, foreign-made vehicles slipping through legal cracks and threatening both public safety and domestic industry. From a legal standpoint, the ban was framed as a closure of loopholes in existing import laws. Most K-trucks had entered the U.S. under exemptions for vehicles over 25 years old, or were used exclusively off-road and thus bypassed standard roadworthiness requirements. Trump's executive order effectively tightened the definitions under which such imports could be granted entry or registration. It stipulated that K-trucks could no longer be imported for personal or commercial use, whether on-road or off-road, and existing registrations in states that had previously permitted them would be revoked after a grace period. The immediate implications of this ban were significant. Importers, some of whom had built entire businesses around sourcing and refurbishing K-trucks for U.S. buyers, were left in disarray. Warehouses filled with ready-to-sell vehicles suddenly represented a massive financial liability. Small businesses, particularly in agriculture and landscaping, were blindsided. Many had come to rely on K-trucks as affordable and efficient tools, especially in tight economic climates where purchasing full-size trucks wasn't feasible. Now they were told these assets were effectively illegal and must be replaced. Enthusiasts, too, felt the sting deeply. For them, K-trucks were more than just practical vehicles. They were symbols of ingenuity, charm, and simplicity. Online forums buzzed with outrage and despair as owners shared images of their vehicles and lamented their impending loss. Some groups quickly organized protests and letter-writing campaigns, seeking legislative relief or at least a delay in enforcement. But the federal stance was uncompromising. Dealers received notices warning against further imports. Customs agents began halting shipments at ports. Registrations in lenient states like Oklahoma and Florida were invalidated. The ban's enforcement came swiftly and without recourse. Economically, the decision reflected a broader pattern in Trump's early presidency, a protectionist stance that prioritized American manufacturing above all else. The administration made no secret of its desire to bolster domestic automakers, and banning K-trucks was touted as a move to steer consumers back toward American brands. But critics pointed out the absurdity of comparing these miniaturized utility vehicles to hulking F-150S or Silverados. The markets didn't overlap. The customers were often not the same. Few American vehicles could compete with K-trucks on price or size. The void they left behind wasn't easily filled. At the same time, environmental advocates watched with growing concern. While K-trucks didn't boast the most advanced emissions technology, their small engines and efficient design meant they consumed far less fuel than larger vehicles. In an era when climate change was becoming a central global issue, banning a fleet of fuel-efficient vehicles sent a confusing message. Critics argued that if safety or emissions were genuine concerns, regulation and retrofitting might have been better paths than outright prohibition. The ban, they said, favored spectacle over substance. On the international stage, the announcement raised eyebrows. Japan, the origin of K-trucks, expressed concern over what it viewed as an abrupt and politically motivated move. Diplomats and trade analysts questioned whether the ban violated existing agreements or represented a new form of economic nationalism. Though K-trucks weren't exported to the U.S. in huge numbers through official channels, the secondary market was still sizable, and Japan's automakers saw it as a growing niche. Now, with a single signature, that window was slammed shut. Within the U.S., the cultural implications of the ban reverberated far beyond those who directly owned or sold K-trucks. It signaled a broader clash between federal policy and the decentralized, often improvisational world of automotive enthusiasm. K-trucks had thrived precisely because they didn't fit into neat categories. They were offbeat, often operating in the gray zones of legality and utility. The ban was, in a sense, a rejection of that creative ambiguity. It was an assertion of control, a demand for conformity in a space long defined by personal expression and workaround solutions. Moreover, the ban highlighted the precariousness of regulatory exceptions. For years, K-truck owners had operated in good faith, registering vehicles where permitted and complying with local laws. They had formed communities, created aftermarket support networks, and contributed to a growing appreciation for Japanese engineering. Now, with one executive order, all that history and investment was cast aside. It was a sobering lesson in how quickly political tides could shift, and how vulnerable even the most benign subcultures could be to broader ideological currents. In the weeks following the announcement, social media platforms exploded with content related to the ban. Memes mocked the idea that a president would target something as niche and seemingly harmless as K-trucks. Hashtags like #SaveTheKeys and #TinyTrucksMatter began trending among automotive circles. YouTube creators rushed to document their vehicles before enforcement took hold, with some even filming tearful farewells or last drives. One video, titled "Goodbye Little Buddy," featured a farmer in Missouri saying farewell to his sambar as the sun set over his fields. It went viral, becoming emblematic of a movement unexpectedly forced into obsolescence. For many, the ban also prompted deeper reflections on American identity, consumer choice, and governmental overreach. K-trucks symbolized a kind of grassroots ingenuity, the idea that ordinary people could find creative, affordable ways to meet their needs without relying on bloated corporate offerings. The trucks were tools, yes, but they were also quiet acts of rebellion against an increasingly homogenized automotive market. Their ban was seen by some not merely as a regulatory change, but as a philosophical rejection of that spirit. In urban settings, too, K-trucks had begun carving out a role. Municipalities had started to explore their use in narrow city alleys, park maintenance, and other spaces where full-size vehicles were impractical. Universities, theme parks, and stadiums had begun integrating them into their logistics fleets. This burgeoning recognition of their utility was abruptly cut short. Contracts were canceled, trial programs halted. Municipal planners who had invested time and resources into evaluating these vehicles were left scrambling for alternatives that didn't exist in the American market. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Trump banning K trucks? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.